Okay, I think we're good. You ready, buddy? Ready to podcast? Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 238 of the Love in Stitches podcast. It is our first podcast of August. I'm actually recording it. It's still July, but today is August 1st as you are watching it. So happy August. It's unbelievable to me that we are already starting to enter into what I feel like are the fall months. I know technically August and most of September are still summer, but it's time to start thinking about, fall knitting, sweaters, and things like that. Also, I'm just kind of over how hot it is. Let's see. It is currently 85 degrees here in Omaha, Nebraska, which is where I'm coming to you from today. We are in our 35th state. I think this will be our 32nd state to film in. We still have, after Nebraska, how many is that? Numbers, 18 more to go, which is great. It feels like we're finally starting to see like the end of the road for this journey of getting to all 50 states, which is really exciting. Of course, we always believed in ourselves that we would get to all 50 states, but now it's looking really, really possible because we're more than halfway, way more than halfway there at this point. And I don't know, it's just really exciting. We've been to a couple of states this week, but we spent most of the week in South Dakota. So I'll be sharing that later on in the episode. All right, I think we should just get right into things. I can't think, is there anything else I'm missing, Toaster? Can't think of anything else at the top of the episode, so let's get into projects. If you've watched the past few episodes, you know that I haven't been working on a large variety of projects lately. It's been much better for my brain and also for space in here to just stay focused on a smaller number of projects. I don't know if my fan is blowing on my microphone. Hold on. That might be a little better. So because of that, I thought I would spend a little time talking about what I'm wearing today because I only have a couple other projects to show. So this is the Ripple Camisole by Jessie Made Designs. I knit it last year in May with my friend Amy. We cast ours on at the same time when I was visiting her in New Jersey, and we worked on them that weekend and then finished them not too long after that. Actually, in total, this took me 18 days to make, and I only needed one skein of fingering weight yarn, which was really awesome. It is very tiny. Like it's also very short and cropped and has like barely any straps. And I didn't wear this for a very long time because I could not find the right bra to wear. I don't like wearing strapless bras. And so when I found one that was pink and that kind of has a V-neck, I mean, every once in a while this like slides down a little bit and I have to pull it up. I thought, yay, finally, I can actually wear my my Ripple Camisole. So I've been wearing it quite a bit this summer. I don't find, well, to be fair, I'm not really wearing this if I'm doing something outdoorsy or something that I'm going to get really hot and sweaty. But as far as just wearing it in the summer, I think it feels really good. I used a Homespun House, what was it called? I wrote it down. My 2022 Advent skein. So at the very end of, opening all the mini skeins for the Advent, there was a full skein of yarn, and this one was called the Advent Land of Sweets. And so I was like, what am I going to do with one skein of yarn? I don't really want to make socks with it because I love pink so much. And so I made this camisole. I still want to try out, I bought like the foamy inserts that you find sometimes in bras or in swimsuits, other items like that, sometimes dresses, tank tops, you get it. Anyway, I bought some of those off of Amazon. They're, relatively cheap. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to maybe try to sew them in. They're kind of triangular or teardrop shaped, but sew them in. And then that way I wouldn't have to have any straps at all. I'm fortunate that I have a small chest, so I really don't need a ton of support, but I do like coverage and a little bit of shaping, just I feel like I like that look on myself. So I've thought about doing that. I haven't done it yet. I have the materials. I just need to give it a try. I even thought about maybe taking some plastic snaps and like sewing them to the inside of the tank top and then one or more to the insert. And then that way they would not be permanently sewn in here, but for now this bra honestly works great, and I'm kind of lazy and I probably won't go back and do that other thing anytime soon. But I have thought about making more tank tops of this kind, maybe some with some thicker straps. That way I don't have to have this worry, and I think I would wear them a lot more often. So that's what I'm wearing today for today's podcast. It's also laundry day. We have a lot of laundry to do later, so I'm kind of low on all of my other clothes anyway. So it was the perfect day to put this on. I have a finished object to share with you this week. It is my Sock Week socks. Sock Week is now over, sadly. It was a really fun time. I mean, Sock Week is 8 days long, the actual make along, but there's so much that leads up to it. I feel like we've been celebrating for months, and I have made 3 total pairs of socks out of the 5 Sock Week yarns. I still have 2 more I would love to work with. Oh gosh, I put these on earlier, so now they're covered in dog hair because I don't know if you can see. They're like covered in dog hair. So I'm gonna try to brush that off. I was walking around on here. So these are unblocked, but they are finished. I have a couple of ends I still need to weave in. So these are the Adventurer Boot Socks by Maggie Fangman, and the yarn is also by Maggie Fangman. I am just looking and seeing that maybe I didn't knit the foot the same. No, I did. Okay. I just finished these this morning, like grafted the toe about an hour ago, so they are fresh off the needles. This is Yarnaceous fibers in the Sock Week 2024 colorway. It is called Petrified Forest, inspired by the Petrified Forest National Park, which is in, darn it, is it in New Mexico? We've been there, but I can't remember what state it's in, and it's awesome. It's so beautiful. So the color work is done with stranding and slip stitches, and it's got the 2 different colors in it. So there was 2 minis that came in this set, this like purpley gray and then this lighter gray. And then the pink, the main color, also has those 2 colors in it. So it's really, really pretty just on its own. I have so much yarn left over. This has to be maybe 70 grams. I mean, there's a ton of it, maybe 60, maybe 70 grams. So I've got a ton left over. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Sometimes when I finish a project and I have a large amount of leftovers, I will gift them to somebody else, another knitter. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I really want to make maybe a yarn cozy or something else to kind of like get to use the yarn again because I love it so much. And I really like this yarn. So maybe I'll make another pair of socks like one day in the future, not right now. I also have quite a bit left of my mini skeins. So I have less of this darker color, more of this lighter color. So looking in the sock here, I have less left of the yarn I used for the toe and the cuff. So I guess the heel didn't quite use as much as doing the toe and the cuff. Makes sense. And then both colors were used in the color work. So this was a really fun pattern. At first it gave me a lot of trouble, like just trying to, for some reason it wasn't intuitive in my brain, the slip stitching and the color work. And so I spent a lot of the first sock a little bit frustrated. And by the time I got to the second sock, which I did during Sock Week, I had it down. And I think I did a better job. So I don't know if this is going to translate in the camera, but here, oh, you know what? I don't have all the lights turned on. Let me get a few more. I don't know if that helped. This right here is my color transition and purling on the first sock, I think. It's actually hard to tell. And then this is my second sock. And I don't really think it's coming across on the camera, but there's actually so much more space on the second sock. It's a lot more even. Whereas like on my first sock, it's a lot tighter. There's a lot more gaps. It doesn't look as even because I got more comfortable with it and I rearranged my stitches. So I don't know how Maggie designed these, if she was using magic loop or circular needles, but I have to guess that she was maybe using a small circumference circular needle in the round, because there was just some things that were a little bit tricky to do if you were doing magic loop, like purling the first stitch. Whenever I'm doing magic loop, I really don't like purling the first stitch. I find it very tricky and difficult and hard to stay consistent when making that transition between needles. So instead, on the second sock, I moved that purl stitch from being the first stitch of the round to being the last stitch of the round. So that way I could work around and I could end with my 2 purl stitches, and then I could start my next needle with a knit stitch. It just made everything, I think, so much easier and so much smoother. And then combined with me feeling more confident about the pattern, I enjoyed it that much more. So really happy with these and how they came out. They really do look so much like Petrified Forest. Maybe one day in the future, we will go back there and I can bring these socks. One of the best parts about only doing one sock during sock week this year is that I had enough time in my day to work on another project, which was really great. I'm not sure if I have done that in the past, maybe the very first year of sock week, but certainly not last year because I tried to make 3 socks. I did make 3 socks and that was a big challenge. So this week, alongside working on my sock week sock, I also made a good amount of progress on my traveler. I did pretty much all of the back. So I've been changing out my marker every week to keep things fresh. So this is what I was feeling last week, this little like macaron kind of thing. Also, sorry if you can hear a noise. Something just started making a noise. Some kind of mechanical thing. No idea. Anyway, so lots of progress working across the back this week. That's pretty much all that I did. Then I started on the sleeve just last night on sleeve number 1 and worked a little bit on it this morning. This is a really good project for my morning knitting and reading. So I got, oops, there we go. I got just a handful of rows done. I picked up the stitches last night, got a handful of rows done this morning, and I am zooming along. So before I tell you my grand plan for this, I think I should throw this on real quick. So microphone coming off for a second. Let's see. Now keep in mind, it hasn't been blocked, and I'm also not going to be able to get very far away. So this is a cropped, sorry, toaster, a cropped long sleeve hoodie. That's what it will look like in the end. And as you can see, it's oversized. And I chose mine to be a little more oversized than Andrea made hers because I was in between sizes. So I either had the choice to kind of go down a size and I would be, you know, having a more fitted, it wouldn't be fitted, but it wouldn't be as loose, or I could go up a size and I would have 2 extra inches of positive ease. Ooh, actually that's not true. The reason I have extra positive ease is because my gauge is a little bit bigger. That's what it was. I did talk about this a few podcasts ago when I cast it on. If you want to hear more about that, I really like sharing my choices on how I choose my size, how I choose my gauge. I like sharing like measurements and things. I try to include that in my project page because I wish that more people talked about it and I had learned from them because I had to make a lot of mistakes before I could get to this place where I feel confident, like choosing sizes, making adjustments if my gauge is, you know, slightly off, things like that. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this. I'm feeling even more confident now that I have it on. Keep in mind, it's not blocked. So when it gets blocked, it will grow probably about like that, a little bit longer. I do want it cropped and it will still be cropped. So it'll grow a little bit longer, which will also mean it will lose, you know, slightly this width. So it's pretty big. I mean, it's meant to be big, but I want this to be a big, comfy, throw on sweatshirt kind of thing. I'm so excited for it. I'm excited that because of the construction, you can see that the sleeve, you know, is already kind of halfway down my upper arm, which means I won't have as long to knit on the sleeve. I usually do need to add length to sleeves because I have really long arms. So I will be doing that this time. A lot of times with Andrea Mowry's patterns, did I come off? Oh, no, I didn't. A lot of times with her patterns, I need to add more, like an extra inch or go up a size in the underarm. And I did not need to do that this time because she said it's already a pretty big underarm. And so I figured, I looked at the schematic and I'm like, that will be good for me. Okay, I'm going to take this off because it is getting warm in here with how warm it is outside. I'm going to take it off and I want to tell you about my grand plan. Okay. So I shared last week that it would be really, really awesome if I could finish this sweater in about 2 weeks. Well, it was about 2 weeks from last week. So in about a week from now. It would be great if I could finish the sweater so that I can bring it with me when we go to Seattle, Alaska, and Hawaii. Seattle is probably not going to be very cold. I mean, I might need it in a, when I'm inside, but probably not at the festival we're going to Flock. Or outside or anything. But in Alaska, it's going to be in the 50s, a lot of the places that we're going. And in Hawaii, we're going to go on a couple of hikes where we'll be at pretty high elevation and it's going to be chilly. So I thought it would be great to have this done. There's not a chance for me to bring this with me as a whip because I have to be really strategic. We're only taking carry-on luggage and backpacks. And that means that I want to use all the backpack space that I have for works in progress, like other projects. I'm thinking I'm gonna start a Musselburgh hat and a t-shirt, and those will be my two projects that I'm gonna bring with me for that trip. And so therefore I can't also store this. This needs to be done. It either comes with me done or it stays behind and gets finished later. So, I've been thinking about that for a couple of weeks now. It'd be really great if I can finish it. Not sure if I'm gonna have the time. We'll see. So instead of just wondering, I went through my pattern and I'm like, okay, here are the number of days I have left. Here are the different sections of each pattern, about how long I think each one is going to take me. And I'm going to just write on this pattern, if in an ideal world, if I could get, the back done in this many days, the sleeves done in this many days, the hood done in this many days, could I actually finish it and have time to wash it and let it block and dry before we leave in the morning on August 7th, which is, as you're watching this, less than a week away. So I wrote all that out. And I mean, all it really looked like was like, I'm trying to zoom in so I don't show the pattern. Really sloppy notes here. But basically like S1 is sleeve 1. I would work on it July 27th through the July 30th, sleeve 2, the 31st through August 3rd, and so on like that. So as far as the back went, I gave myself a handful of days. Hold on, let's see. I think I gave myself 3 days to finish the back. And then I was able to further break that down and go, okay, if I have 3 days to finish the back, that would look like doing, I figured out the rows essentially that I needed to do. That would look like doing 3 of these purl ridges every single day, which in total it was 15 rows. And I was able to do that, 15 rows a day. After I finished the back, I actually planned in a buffer day. I'm really glad I did. I don't know. This is wild that it happened to be exactly when I needed a break. But I just planned a day where it was like, either I'm going to catch up on what I haven't finished or I'm just not going to get anything done. That way I have a little wiggle room. And that ended up being this past Saturday. We had a really busy day. I also got behind on my sock week socks on that day. But because I had that day, I was able to be back on track where I want to be. So that was really, really good. So learning from experience. So now I've given myself 3 days to do each sleeve. And I broke that down last night to figure out how much I would need to do today and tomorrow in order to finish the sleeve, because now I've got 2 days left on the sleeve. And it looks like for me about 12 of these purl bumps. So I don't really know. When I go into a new section, I don't really know if my estimation is actually realistic until I get into the knitting. So I'm sure I could do more math about like number of stitches and number of rows and all of that, but I'm not going to do that. It's not that serious. But I will see today how much I'm able to get accomplished. If I'm able to get, those 12 ridges done, or if I'm not able to get there, I can adjust, or if I'm get further, I can change my plans. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that I can get it done. So 2 more days on this sleeve. Again, I had a whole day where I didn't get anything done. And then yesterday I didn't get anything done till the evening. So that was a little tricky. But then after I get the first sleeve all figured out and done in 2 days, I think I'll have no trouble getting the second sleeve done in 3 days, which is what I've allotted. And then that leaves me with 2 days to do the hood, which is probably the riskiest one. I'm not sure about that, but if I am able to get the hood done in 2 days, I will have this sweater finished by August 5th, giving me, hopefully I finish it August 5th and I can block it that night, which gives me a full day to let it dry. It's risky. It's risky, but I think I might be able to do it. So that's what I've spent my time doing this week. Knitting and figuring out future knitting. I wish send me all the good vibes. I mean, it's obviously not that big of a deal. I have other sweatshirts, but not a knitted sweatshirt. And I really want to bring a knitted sweatshirt. It's so much cozier. It's so much warmer. And it's knitting. I'm making this sweatshirt. I can't remember if I said this. I'm making this sweatshirt to replace another hoodie that I wear all of the time. That's a store-bought one. So this one is bringing me a lot of joy right now, and I can't wait to finish it. As always, this was a really busy week, but a really fun one. We got back into going to national parks. We did some hiking. We went to several yarn stores. It was sock week. I mean, it was like so much going on. Last night I finally got more than 5.5 hours of sleep, and I feel like a new person. So prioritize your sleep, everyone. Sometimes for us, it's just not possible. Like, obviously there's always something, well, pretty much always something you can kind of sacrifice. But when it comes between like getting out videos and getting quality, time with people and eating, like I'm going to choose those things over sleep. And then we'll get back into sleep. It's only a short period of time. So we started out this week in North Dakota. One of the first things we did was we got to meet one of my Love and Stitches members, and she's been a long time member and friend, Ginger, and her family. We went to dinner together. We did some knitting. It was awesome. They got to see the van. It was so great. Then we went to Theodore Roosevelt National Park. I think like our 31st or 32nd national park that we have been to. And it was a really great one. There were two sides of it, and the road in between had a closure. So we did one on one day, like the north side on one day and the south side on the other day. We saw bison, we saw longhorns, we saw prairie dogs. Oh my gosh, prairie dogs are so cute. We'll see them later on in South Dakota Park, but they were so stinking cute. We did some hiking. It was great to get back into hiking, though it has been extremely hot. So we only did a little bit of hiking, kind of get ourselves back into it. Then we entered our 34th state of South Dakota. In South Dakota, we went to Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, we had been told to lower your expectations, that it's not as big as, you might think it is from seeing it in pictures or on movies and stuff like that. And I think because our expectations were lowered a little bit, we were actually pretty wowed by Mount Rushmore. Now, when you go, it's the only thing that's there, right? So you're seeing Mount Rushmore, but there are also several different buildings you can go in. There was a ranger talk that we went to that was really awesome, talking about how they constructed it. There was some native representation. There was somebody there like performing and dancing. So that was really awesome. And then most of the I think it's an NPS site. It's not a national park, but most of those sites have also like a short movie you can watch to learn about the history of the place. So it was actually pretty neat. The best view, I think, was driving in, and you could just see Mount Rushmore like through the trees. And then we did this cool walk that, kind of went up closer to it and around, and they'd strategically placed these plaques where if you stood and read about that president, you could just see that president. Like the viewpoint was forced, the perspective was forced so that you could just see that president because trees would like surround the other area. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. I even had some time to stop and sit and knit on my sweater a little bit. It was a little bit cooler. We went first thing in the morning, so that was really nice. That same day, we went to Wind Cave National Park and ran into another knitter, Kim, who we had met not too long before that at Cream City in Wisconsin. So hi, Kim, if you're watching this. It was so good to run into you again. She had knit a Badlands hat. So she had her Badlands hat. We took a picture together. I had my sock that I was knitting on for Petrified Forest, and we were in Wind Cave. So we were all like national park fans. We talked for a while. She gave us some really great hike suggestions for when because we were like crossing paths. Like they had just come from the east side of the state and they were going west, and we were headed east. So we were going towards Badlands. She was coming from Badlands. So she gave us some hiking tips, and we took those up. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Wind Cave was pretty cool. The cave itself is closed right now because they are working on the elevator. So we're planning to go back. We want to go back to South Dakota for many reasons, but we want to go back to Wind Cave. We want to go to Crazy Horse. We want to go to Custer State Park. There's a lot of things that we just didn't have the time to do right now. I also want to go back at another point in the year where it's not over 100 degrees, so I can enjoy everything even more. Then we went to our first yarn store of the week. We went to Slip Knit in Rapid City, South Dakota, and we got to meet owner Kim. We filmed a tour that will be coming out in a month or so. It was a great store. We went in the night before to one of their, what do they call them? They call them flock gatherings, and there's one almost every single day of the week, and they have different themes. So this one was geared more towards knitting, but then the next day there was one where most people were crocheting, and then the afternoon, a lot of people were spinning. You don't have to be doing those things, but that kind of is how the different things lean. And then we learned a lot about felting. I don't know if you can see this behind me that I kind of put up here so that you don't just see our pillows blocking the windows and the sun. So we learned a lot about felting, and Kent and I made this piece, which we'll be adding to, you know, later on and different stuff, but they had a huge needle felting machine that we ran this through. So I made a little toaster, which kind of looks like a fox. And Kent made this like sun and ocean. And then I did a heart for Love and Stitches. And, you know, we'll just keep adding to it. Maybe one day we'll wet felt it. It was really, really fun. I can't wait to share the process of that. So Kim let us take this with us, and she said, your dog will love it. And actually he totally does. I'll lay it down on his pillow for him and he cuddles up on it. So that was really cool that we got to learn all about that. After we left Rapid City, we stopped at Wall Drug, which is kind of a famous entity in South Dakota. Wall is a town, but Wall Drug, I actually didn't read the history of it. Right now, I can tell you what it is because I went there. It's basically a I don't know how to say this. It's like, it's a tourist stop, a great place to stop and stretch your legs if you're driving along. I think it's I-90, maybe I-90. And there are just like rooms and upon rooms of like gift shop and restaurant and food. Then there's an outdoor space. They had like a water fountain thing going and kids were playing in it. And they have all this memorabilia, that is just, it was very, very cute, very interesting, very crowded, very crowded. Kent ended up getting a donut that he said was really good. I got blueberry pie to have for later, and it was amazing. They have 5-cent coffee if you're sitting in there. Like, I would have loved if we had more time, if we could just like go and hang out in there for a while and just, you know, get a cup of coffee, get a piece of pie, do some work. But it was extremely hot that day and we had toaster in the car. And so even with the air conditioning, we don't like to leave him for very long at all. Right, buddy? Yeah. Okay. So he doesn't care. But we didn't want to do that. And we had some driving to do. So just a quick pit stop. Our next stop was the Badlands. Badlands National Park is now, we're headed, I don't know if we're fully in eastern South Dakota yet, but no, I don't think so, because I think we were still in mountain time. I could be wrong about that. At some point we went from, no, I think we were still in mountain time, because the next day we lost an hour and then had an early yarn store tour when we went into central time. So pay attention to time zones when you're in South Dakota, North Dakota, and a lot of other states, because they are split at some point. So the Badlands were amazing. We first came in on maybe Thursday night, I think, in the evening, and we drove around as the sun was setting, and it was just stunning. So the Badlands are all of these layers of rock, basically, and they form these really cool, like, spiky formations. And I don't know, they're just fascinating. We went to a ranger talk that night once the sun had set. It was a little cooler outside, and the ranger explained all of the different fossils that you could find in the very bottommost layer. I can't remember what that was called, that layer of rock, but basically that land once used to be an ocean millions and millions of years ago. So they were sharing with us all of the different animal fossils that might be found there. And actually people find lots of fossils in the Badlands, which I think is really cool. The next day we got up early and went for an early hike with the suggestions that our friend Kim gave us. So we ended up going on this about a mile-long hike where you climb up this ladder, and going up was actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Half of the ladder, you're still able to just walk on the ground, and then you actually have to climb, but it's not like a 90-degree climb, it's like a 45-degree climb. So that was actually pretty easy. I was a little worried. So then you hike out and you have this wonderful viewpoint. It's really cool. Coming back down the ladder was a humbling experience. I would not consider myself to be athletic, but I would also say that I can still do most things. I'm not super strong, but I am pretty coordinated. And it was tricky. Going backwards down the ladder just kind of threw me for a loop. It like trips you up a little bit. And Kit and I both were so sore the next day. Like our legs were so sore. And I have to think it was from the ladder because the rest of the hiking was not at much of an incline at all. So yeah, humbled to say the least. Very humbled. But anyway, we got that hike done early in the morning because that day it ended up being about like 107. So very, very hot. But in the morning it was not so bad. Oh, and we stayed at a beautiful campground in the Badlands where I was able to snap a video because we weren't actually in the park, but you could see the rock formations. We ended the week in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at Prairie Road Yarn, and we filmed a tour there as well. So we're gonna have 2 yarn store tours coming out of South Dakota. We had a great time with Jane, the owner there. They have had their store for almost 2 years now. So it's a pretty young store, but a beautiful space. And she loves to make colorwork mittens. So she had an excellent collection of like all of her yarns, but also a lot of those like more rustic, solid colored yarns that you can put together for color work. So if you're looking for that, they do ship. So that's a great place. And all of those, the 2 tours I talked about will be coming up soon. I ended up getting a yarn, where is this dyer from? They're not from South Dakota. I did not get a North Dakota or a South Dakota yarn. Even though there were options, there weren't any options that weren't a non-superwash, and that's what I want because I want to be able to make something with all the other yarns. So I need a 75-25 or something like that, and I didn't find any in North or South Dakota, which is kind of sad. I did get this though. This is from Cato Yarn Company. I think, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm going to forget. Maybe Minnesota. Where we were in Sioux Falls is not far from Minnesota at all. So it is local and as far as distance, but not made in South Dakota. But this colorway is an exclusive colorway for Prairie Road Yarns, and it's called Tumbleweeds. And Jane had this color dyed up to go with the National Park kit for the Badlands. So she had the Badlands hat, this and another color, and it's really, really pretty. So super fun week, super busy. What's coming up next for us is we have 2 more yarn store tours to film this week. We're in Nebraska and Iowa, and then we are headed back to Tennessee before we take off to Seattle for Flock. Hope to see you there, and Alaska, and then Hawaii. This week's newest videos are a yarn store tour and a vlog. So just a reminder that every single Saturday, well, just about every single Saturday, I am hosting a premiere of a yarn store tour. Consider this like a virtual yarn store tour. You get to come along with me and watch the tour videos that we're recording around the United States. But it's a premiere, so there's a live chat on the side. So if you want to ask questions or anything, I'm right there that whole time, and you can join us for that. The only time we won't have them is when we have events going on. So coming up, we're going to have Flock, and so we're going to not have one that week, and so on until we show all of our yarn store tours, which should be sometime in the beginning of next year. We should have tons and tons to show you. The other new video this week is a Sock Week vlog. I just sat down every day during Sock Week and talked a little bit to the camera, showed what I was working on that day. It's an easy, sweet little vlog. So I hope you enjoy that one as well. Now, as far as make-alongs go, Sock Week is over. I have posted all of the prize winners over on Instagram. At least that is my plan as of now. I haven't actually done it yet, so if that changes, I will let you know, but I'm planning to post them all on Instagram. So you can head over there to see if you're a winner for one of our Sock Week prizes. Okay, let's talk about events. So I've been sharing Yarny events now for a couple of months, and last week I shared the good news that I have a web page now on knittynatty.com, knittynatty.com/Yarny events that you can go to, and all of the events are going to be on there. So my plan with this, I'm still kind of figuring out, like, logistic wise how I'm going to update the website and keep it current, plus how I'm going to share about it here on the podcast. It just got to be too many events to really run through and share because it just got a little bit jumbled. So my plan right now is to share at the beginning of the month all the events coming up for that month. So since it's August 1st, I'm going to be sharing all of the August events, but then you can go to the website and you can see everything that's coming up for the future. I'm also figuring out how I want to keep like past events, if I want to keep them on that page or keep them on a different page or just keep them for myself. But my plan is to, every week when I sit down and make my podcast notes, to update that. I have a few more events that I need to add. I got a lot of emails after I shared the website, the new website last week, and I need to go back through them and get those all organized. So those may not be up there by the time this podcast goes up, but I will have them by next week. So let's talk about events that are coming up for August. Okay, so we have the Slow Yarn Crawl PNW, which goes all the way through September 2nd in Washington and Oregon. The Cowboy Yarn Crawl also goes through September 2nd. That's Labor Day. It is in all of Wyoming, all the stores in Wyoming, and we went to all of them, which was really, really fun. How do I make this go away? There we go. The Maine Yarn Cruise is in Maine, of course, and it goes through October 14th. The Heartland Yarn Adventure, oh wait, hold on, I skipped one. The Steel Valley Yarn Crawl in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is July 26th through August 4th. The Heartland Yarn Adventure is in Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, and it is also July 26th through August 4th. Okay, now we're getting into some events that are only happening in August. The Mid-Iowa Yarn Shop Hop is August 1st through the 3rd. The Fiber Festival Eureka is in Montana. Sorry, I gotta get rid of this too. Move, I can't see. There we go. The Fiber Festival Eureka is in Montana, August 3rd through the 4th. Wild and Woolly Colorado Yarn Crawl is August 3rd through the 11th. The I-91 Shop Hop is in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Vermont, August 6th through the 17th. The Flock Fiber Festival is August 9th and 11th in Seattle, Washington. I will be there. I hope to see you there. The Pearl, Indiana Yarn Crawl is August 9th through the 17th in Indiana. It's like in the southern part. It is awesome. I went last year. The Michigan Fiber Festival is in Allegan County, Michigan, August 14th through the 18th. The Oklahoma Yarn Crawl is August 16th and 17th, and then 19th through 24th. The Texas Yarn Trail is August 22nd through August 28th. Like I said, I have some other events that are in my inbox right now. I need to add to this, so there may be a few more. If you go into the description box or just go to knittynatty.com, there is a webpage called Yarny Events, and all of the events that I'm talking about, plus the links to all of those events, are going to be there. I'm taking out the long section in my description box and just adding that one link so you can find everything in one place. All right, I think that's everything for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!